I'd just like to welcome you all to the 8th of the workshops that PAVO have been running during this week. This is the last one in the series of workshops, The Healthy Recovery. Today, the session will be run by Janet and myself, who both work in the Internal Services Department in PAVO. The session is very much based on how we as an organisation dealt with the pandemic and the changes to both staff, work and their personal lives. And this is from a perspective of looking after the staff. Hopefully you will feel you have been given tips and advice, and by participating in the practical sessions, you can take forward to see within your workplaces. Before we start, I would like to thank Mary Griffiths of Mid and North Powys Mine for assisting with the planning of the event. And I'd like to also introduce you to 2 freelance trainers associated with Mind who are joining us today to help deliver the session. Firstly, to Mike Buckley, I'm sure Mike will give you all a wave, who offers mindfulness, meditation and Tai Chi coaching sessions for groups and individuals. And John Paul Higginson, who through We Help People offers a bespoke support service, providing deep guided relaxation sessions, teaching self-hypnosis, self-care and action and commitment therapy. So that is who we'll be delivering. So what will we be delivering? We'll begin very shortly with a practical Tai Chi session with Mike, and we will hope that you will all take part in this. Then Janet will take us through the PAVO journey over the last few months. When we then return, I will be talking about the specific areas to consider when managing staff and what PAVO have in place to help to look after them. And looking ahead to what might be coming next and how we approach the uncertainty, if any of us know, if only we did. We will then play a short video giving information on services delivered by the third sector in Powys. Following that, we will then conclude by participating in a relaxation facilitated by John Paul. We may at this stage have time to answer any questions after the relaxation, but if we do not, we will forward any answers to the session on an email. If any of you do have any questions during the session, please, if you'd pop them in the Q&A box that you can find at the bottom, the icon is at the bottom of your screen. If you click on the Q&A, you'll be able to enter a question in that box. Now, as I say, we may answer these at the end of the session, or it may be that if we do run out of time, we'll do this in a different way. So with no further ado, I'd like to pass over to Mike, who will take us through a short Tai Chi session. Thank you.
Hello, thanks, Angela. So hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us for the Tai Chi session. So if you're sitting down, I'd like you to stand up, please. So everyone on your feet. And let's just get started by just shaking our hands out like this. So it's just like, you know, you've been to the washroom, you've washed your hands and there's no paper towels. And you're just giving your hand, you get all the drops of water off your hands. And that can be quite vigorous. And then if we join our, let me just step a bit closer. If we just make that a whole arm thing as well, so that we really flick all the water off the ends of your arms, off the ends of your hands. So that gets your shoulders involved as well. And they probably feel quite tingly now. So let's have a go with the feet. Let's give their feet a shake. We can waggle them side to side. Or we can shake them like there's something on the bottom of your shoe you're trying to get off. And then do the same with the other foot. Give it a waggle. And give it a shake. Shake all that off the bottom of your foot. Fabulous. And then let's just give it a little kick. We just go to a little gentle kick that way, and then one the other way. As we do that, we can perhaps feel that there's a bit of a stretch down the outside of your leg, across your thigh, into your hip. I can't see any of you. I can't see any of the people on the screen, so I don't know if everyone's falling over or not, but just have a bit of fun with this bit. That's great. And then just standing like this, shoulder width apart, with your feet, with just this nice gap between them, both of your feet facing the front. And let's just see how we're standing, because most of you, unless you've already done a bit of body work, if you put your attention in your knees, you'll find that your knees are locked back. You're standing upright by having your knees pushed back as far as they go. And that's just the common, normal way that everybody stands. What I'd like you to do is to bring your knees forward maybe a couple of inches. And it just drops you down a little bit. But now your knees are bent, they're flexed. Can you feel that? Let's just push them back again, just so that we can see the difference. So that's, legs are just turned sideways, so you can see that. So that's with the legs pushed back, your knees pushed back, which just feels normal. And then let's just bring the knees just that much forwards. Let's just keep doing that as I do a bit of talking. Just keep playing with the feeling of that. What that actually does is it tilts your pelvis so that your tail goes under and your tummy comes up slightly maybe. So we're not collapsing, we're just doing that. We're just tilting the pelvis. So with the knees just that little bit flexed, I'd like you to put your attention in the soles of your feet now, so that you can actually feel that pressure, that place of contact between the soles of your feet and the floor and the ground. Okay? So we're going to stay like this pretty much for the rest of the session with this knees relaxed, knees flexible place. It's a bit like, you know, how you dance, or if you do surfing or skateboarding, or certainly if you do boxing or any contact sport, you'll see that everyone who engages with that, they do that with their knees flexed. And for why? It's because you can feel the ground under your feet. And while you can feel your ground, your body feels it too. And when your body can feel that connection with the ground, it begins to relax, it begins to release. So perhaps that would be the one thing that I would really love you to take away from this Tai Chi session, is from henceforward, from this moment on, whenever you notice that you've got your knees locked back, you just bring them forward and see what that feels like. So we're just going to do a little exercise together now. And if you just stand there, just paying attention, feeling your feet on the floor, and I'll show you what it looks like, and then we'll have a go together. So this exercise is called turning to gaze at the moon, as though there's a full moon over your shoulder, and someone's just said, oh, there's a full moon behind you, and you're leaving your feet where they are, and you're just turning to behold the moon behind you, like that. And then there's another moon on the other side as well, so we're going to do the same on the other side. Okay, so I'll just show you one more time, maybe just one all the way through, and then we'll do that together. Okay, so let's do that together. And if you mirror me, so as I turn to what looks like your left, you turn to your left and back to the middle, and then turn to your right and back to the middle. Lovely. So let's put the breathing in with that as well, so we can do all of it together. So we're going to breathe in here as we turn back to the middle, we're breathing in. So from here to the outside, we're breathing out. So we're breathing out and then breathing in as soon as we turn back to the middle, and then breathing out again. Breathing in and breathing out. And you might notice that as you turn, say, to your right side, the weight is in your right foot. And as you turn to the left side, your weight is in your left foot. And at the beginning, as you turn from here towards the front, it begins by pushing the right foot down into the floor. So the turn doesn't happen up here with the hands. It begins down here in the foot. They push down, turns the waist, moves the body, moves the arms. Just have a play with that. And if you have your attention still in the soles of your feet, you can feel that pressure in the one side. We call that the full side. That pushes the weight into the other and then becomes empty. Okay, so good. So I hope you're feeling the floor now, because now we're going to take a step forwards. So to do that, if you pick up the toes of your left foot and just put them into the corner, into the diagonal, and then put them down, and then move your weight into your left side. So now this side now is full and this side is empty. So now we can just move the right foot forwards. We're only going to do it the length of your foot. So now the heel is going to be where the tip of your toes were. So we can just move that forwards like that. Let's take in a Tai Chi empty step. Just checking that we still got that gap sideways, this shoulder width apart sideways, because now we're stable in this direction, side to side, but now we're also stable forwards and backwards. So just have a play with that with me. Bring your weight into your left foot at the back, and then push the weight into the front foot, allowing all of the weight to go down into the ground in your front foot, and then bring it into the back foot again, and into the front foot. And our knees are still bent and flexed. Back foot, front foot. And when we look, if we just stay in the front foot for a moment, and we look down, we can still see the tip of your toes past your knee. Now that means that we haven't gone too far. If we can still see the tip of your toes past your right kneecap, it means your knee can relax, because the foot is underneath your knee and it can just receive the weight from this right side of your body. Okay, so let's put some hand movements with that. As we come forwards, we're like this, outstretched wide. And as we bring the weight into the back foot, we bring the hands together. Then as we push forward, it's a bit like we're stepping through some curtains on a stage. And then we come back again, and then forwards. And just allow yourself just to come into this rhythm. Have your elbows dropped so that they're pointing to the ground, and that will allow your shoulders to relax. Fantastic. And then let's swap the feet over. So bring your right foot back, put that into the diagonal this time, and step forward with your left foot, just a little short step. And let's do that again. So bring the weight into the front foot, and we're going to breathe in as we come back, and breathe out as we come forwards. Breathe in, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. Just feel the weight moving from the back foot into the front foot, into the back foot, and be aware of your breathing at the same time. Breathing in, coming back, breathing out, going forwards. Just the interest, just in these two places, in knowing the movement of breathing, breathing out, coming forward, and feeling how it feels in your body at the same time. This feeling of full in the front, empty at the back, full in the back, empty at the front. Fabulous. So, Just want to have a look at one last thing, I think, before we go. I think we can do two things. So let's have a look at, we're just going to hold a big ball, like a massive beach ball, and we're just going to relax over. So again, if you just have a relax for a moment, you can just shake your legs or anything that your body needs to do. You can just attend to it. If you need a bit of a stretch, just do that. So just have a look, and I'll do it a couple of times, and then we'll do it together again. So I'm going to hold this big ball and just going to turn to the side and let the body relax, the torso relax down into the left foot, come round to the front, and then up the other side. So of course it's breathing out as we go down. At the bottom we can let the head relax, push down into the ground to stand back up again as we breathe in. Okay? So as we do this, the thing really is to have your attention in how your body's feeling all the way that we move through this big circle, so that you move in accordance with your body. In Tai Chi, this is called operating within your soft limit. That we're not trying to push past anywhere. We're not particularly trying to reach the floor when we relax over. It's just that we're feeling our body as we move through the movement, so that we never ask it to do too much. Okay? So breathing in, big breath in, holding big ball, and then just relaxing over to the left. Just exploring how your body feels as this relaxation of the upper body is met by the resistance of the muscles in the legs. Then pushing down into the ground to stand back up again. Turning to the left side, leaning over. Turning to the front. Turning to the right. Just exploring this lovely big movement of the body. Following the movement of your breath with your attention. When we come back to the top, we'll change direction, go back the other way. So leaning over to the right. Pushing down into the ground to stand up. Just giving this time to yourself just to really pay attention to taking in this big breath of air. Allowing your whole body to be inflated and allowing that out breath to go all the way to the end. And when we get to the top, just relaxing again. And now we are really in our bodies. We can have a look at this one more thing. Just a couple of minutes, perhaps. And if you've been on the laptop, you've been on your computer during the day, and you just want one thing just to clear your head and to really bring yourself into the now, into the present moment, this is the exercise for you. So this is what it looks like. We're just going to have the feet just gently pointed in the corners so they're not exactly straight. They're just a little bit. We'll bring our weight into that. So if you're following me, this is your right foot. And then your left foot now is empty. And as we sink the weight into this right foot, we can just lift this knee up. Yeah? And then we can put it down again, but without putting any weight in. So we take an empty step, and then we move the weight in. So now you're all in the left foot, we can lift the right knee up. And then we place that down, empty, shoulder width apart. And then we move the weight in. And then lift the opposite leg up. And if we want to get their hands involved in this exercise, it looks like this. So you all join in. if you're not doing so already. Doesn't matter if you wobble, everyone will be. And the trick is to put your foot down empty, move the weight in. When you feel your weight in this side, you can just lift this side up without wobble. Down, cross, allow the weight all the way down into the ground. Bring your foot up, put it down. Move it across. And this is a really good exercise for bringing your attention absolutely bang into the here and now. Fantastic. So just to close, just really quickly, shoulder width apart. Palms facing up as we breathe in, up to shoulder height, let them turn over. Breathing out, relaxing down. Breathing in, turn the palms over, relaxing down. Breathing in and out. Just do 2 more. Fantastic. So that's me done. Thank you so much for joining the Tai Chi, and I'll be around at the end if there's any questions about this or the mindfulness that I do. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mike, very, very much for that session. I'm hoping that everybody will have enjoyed that as much as Janet and I did here in the office. Hopefully the session has given you a little bit of a taster of Tai Chi. But it's that slow movement, isn't it? And the deep breathing that helps you to relax and helps you to reduce that stress of the day-to-day life. Hopefully this will encourage a number of you to possibly take it up on a more regular basis. Thank you, Mike. That was really, really excellent. Now, as I said before, we're going to move into the session where Janet and I are going to talk about PAVO's experiences during this pandemic. And we're sorry, this is a much heavier part of it, but thankfully we do have John Paul at the end to relax us all down once again. So with that, I'll hand over to Janet and she'll take you through this first session. Thank you.
I'm going to talk to you a little bit about PAVO's journey. I'm not saying we have all the answers and I'm not saying we had everything correct, but it is an example of how we have supported staff wellbeing, and we have had quite a lot of positive feedback from our staff. So I guess there must be something useful in our journey to support you. This is our starting point. PAVO has a set of stated values. They're included on all our documents, and they're a bit like a stick of rock. The writing, these values would be the writing in the center of a PAVO stick of rock if we were selling those. So we kind of start from the point where we're respecting our employees. Everything is equal. We respect diversity. Integrity and honesty is quite important when you're dealing with a pandemic, as is collaboration. We strive always for excellence, and we wanted to be able to continue to deliver an excellent service to our stakeholders and clients. Listening and learning, and that's to one another as well as to the people we work with. And PAVO is a mindful employer, and for those of you that aren't familiar with the Mindful Employers Charter, that means that we've signed up to take a non-judgmental and proactive support for staff experiencing mental ill health, and we also work hard to end any kind of feelings of discrimination, and so we actively encourage disclosure from staff about mental health and well-being so that we can all work together to support them properly. So our journey through, as all organisations, we have a business continuity plan which sets out how we will prioritise our various services and activities and how we'll divert capacity to maintain those essential services. We also, alongside that business continuity plan, developed a staff wellbeing plan. And we had a strategy alongside continuing our activities, which prioritised the promotion of positive wellbeing, maintaining connection, and the provision of support in a time of crisis. So those were the sort of 3 strategic aims of the wellbeing plan. And the other ingredients, really, strong leadership. This is absolutely vital to instill confidence so that all our staff knew what it was we were going to do and how we were going to do it. So there was that clarity. Information and transparency is really important. We tried very hard to make sure that there were no hidden areas, unless, you know, something wasn't really something that everyone needed to know. We perhaps would wait a little while before we revealed that so that we didn't cause any alarm prematurely. We were very watchful, Angela and I, in internal services, and that was internally and externally. We had our eyes on the horizon of what potentially might be coming in our direction, but we also were reflecting all the time on what was happening internally for staff and how we could respond to that. We were very interested in the science, both in terms of COVID and infection rates, but also in terms of mental health science and leadership theory. And I'll talk a little bit more about that as we go along. Contact connection was, you know, our second thread. So we made sure that there were regular virtual meetings, and these were very frequent in the early days, and they've kind of got a little bit further apart now for all staff. But we maintain a lot of team meetings and one-to-one meetings. And we've also got a coffee chat channel, which David set up for us in Google. So you can always pop into a virtual chat and find out what other people are doing and find somebody to have a chat with if you're feeling a little bit isolated. Kindness underpins all of this, and that's it just is really important to respond really to anything with kindness and compassion. But at the end of the day, we do still have an organisation to run, and there are people relying on us. So performance management is also really important, and that's also about fairness as well. So for us, well-being actually equaled business continuity. They weren't different things. They were one and the same. So what actually happened physically, and I guess this story probably could be repeated hundreds and hundreds of times across PAVO, but there was that rapid implementation of changes to our delivery. We had 49 staff to all get working from home remotely. It was an IT and telecoms nightmare at times, but we sort of got our way through that. Health and safety, COVID brought with it a massive amount of legislation, and suddenly, you know, every little thing needed to be risk assessed almost to the nth degree. And of course, then there were redeployment that we had areas which we prioritised, so staff had to change jobs and roles. We had weekly senior management teams, so that was monitoring demand for our services and ensuring that we had capacity. We had our weekly staff get together in the beginning, and that tended to be, first of all, information and engagement question and answer session. But in the early days, we followed that by some sort of entertainment, like a quiz or a learning session on a particular issue. Weekly statistics, it was really quite satisfying to look at the amount of activity that was going on, and it was a real boost to staff morale to see what they were achieving. And again, this sort of awareness and targeted support and performance management, we needed to really understand what was going on for every single member of our team. As many third sector organisations, it's not just staff, we have volunteers as well, and making sure that the volunteer supervisors were able to do this for our volunteers as well. So, phase one, shock. I think that every single person must have been feeling in shock at the start of this pandemic. This montage of images are all taken within a 7-day period off BBC Wales website. So we basically went from what we thought was everyday life into these kind of images and being bombarded on a daily basis, and the impact. And we recognised really right from the outset that everybody was going to be experiencing some sort of degree of shock, and that was an entirely normal reaction to a really unusual situation. So in the early days, it really was crisis management. It was everybody in PAVO was hugely motivated, because the one thing that we all want to do in a crisis in the third sector is fix it. So everybody was very busy trying to help. We had to adapt. We had multiple competing demands, and the little guy in the corner with all the hands and his clock saying 2 o'clock in the morning, that probably was quite a typical situation for some people. So the risk in the early days was actually burnout. So we had to be very careful that we were removing the unnecessary tasks. So things that were more administrative and perhaps weren't that important were removed. Reallocation of work. If some staff were struggling, we moved other people to help them with capacity. And the one thing we did do was enforced leave. Every member of PAVO staff took a week of annual leave before the end of June. And that was really to help people just to take a break, to unwind. In June, we had a pause for thought. We had a staff session, and we all got together to just stop for a minute, to try and examine why we were feeling the way we were and the impact that it was having on us. And we focused very much on grief theory. We kind of hit on this quote from David Kessler, who worked with Elizabeth Kubler-Ross on developing grief management. And this quote here: we feel the world has changed, and it has. We know it's temporary, but it doesn't feel that way. And we realize that things will be different. The loss of normalcy, the fear of economic toll, the loss of connection, it's hitting us and we're grieving. And collectively, we're not used to this kind of collective grief in the air. And really, what we were trying to do was to sort of make sense of the way people were feeling. If we can give something a name, sometimes we can manage it, we can control parts of it, we can empower ourselves, and somewhere we might even find some meaning in it. And the change curve, there are quite a lot of emotions listed on there. And I think with this kind of collective grief, as individuals, we were zipping backwards and forwards on this curve and feeling different emotions at different times, sometimes just depending on what had been in the media or the news. And we found that staff actually really welcomed this because it sort of gave people permission to feel the range of emotions they were feeling. And it was quite helpful for us collectively as an organisation to reflect on that. And so we set about creating a whole load of coping and tools and coping strategies. We have a folder on a shared drive that staff can add things to and find things in that they found useful. And it can be anything from, you can see on the right there's a poem, a nice photograph, and on the left is some counselling theory about control and what you can't control. But there was a whole raft of things in there, including online courses. And then we got to the summer and we thought it was all going to be over, but it wasn't. So we all went into disappointment and inertia. And it was like, how long is this really going to continue for? And we hit this sort of flat plateau. So our strategy for that was to start using the time productively. So encouraging people to do learning activities and personal development. We had some people took up learning Welsh. There were all kinds of things that we encourage people to do. At this time as well, it coincided with people moving back to their substantive roles and preparation for opening up. So really looking forward, getting involved in planning, getting involved in looking at new projects to meet the sector's needs. So that kind of kept us going for a bit. And then we got to opening up, and you might think that that was a really good thing, but for some people it wasn't. Some people quite anxious about going back to their normal business. The legislation was complex. What you could and couldn't do was changing on an almost weekly basis. So you're going to get that level of fear and anxiety, different levels, but every one of us is going to feel a bit of that at some point. There was also this whole idea that our expectations hadn't been met. You know, we thought it would be over by now, and coupled with that, the other end of it was complacency. Was well, actually, I can go out now. So it was remembering that we still had quite a lot of procedures that we needed to follow. So how did we deal with that? Well, again, regular communication, regular updates and briefings, and moving into, where necessary, performance management type activities, which Angela will talk about a little later. And then as soon as we just got used to opening up, it was lockdown again. So initially you'd have people wanting leave to nip and see family. It was half term, so childcare, and Angela will talk a bit more about that. Some things that we'd spent a lot of time planning suddenly had to stop, and we were back to the stay-at-home message. So again, we were back to that regular communication. We had a all staff briefing, got together to see how we were all managing with that. Right, I guess we've all been sitting in front of screens a lot lately, and we've timed in just a few minute break at this time. I don't know if you want to say how long we're going to have, Angela.
Hello, everybody. Hopefully you've just had a quick stretch of the legs before we continue. I'd just like to thank Janet very much for that presentation, just to give you a flavour of how we dealt with things during the pandemic. The one thing I will say is that the business continuity plan and the wellbeing plan were so important to us as an organisation, as it gave us a plan to follow. And it's something that we continuously update and continually evolves as things change. This next session that I'm going to be covering, within the COVID-19 pandemic, it's caused the majority of employees to work from home. There's very few that are actually able to go into the office. It has never been more important for us to have the skills to manage remote working effectively. And things have changed quite dramatically in that area, and I'm sure you're all aware of. By moving employees from the typical workplace environment, we no longer see team members face to face, or at least, you know, in person. And we obviously see them on video chats, but I don't feel it's quite the same. And the monthly catch-ups will have become weekly ones. You know, whereas before you would meet perhaps for supervisions on a monthly basis, now it has to be more often. There is so much more to consider when dealing with staff based at home. These are some of the areas that we considered when managing our staff. Personal circumstances. Everyone's situation is different. Some staff live alone. Others, on the other hand, live in households that are very, very busy and very full with a number of other people there. There are some more issues with staff living not only across the border between England and Wales, but also in different regions where there's different lockdowns going on. The different restrictions across Wales, across the UK, you know, continuously changing. Who knows where we'll be next week, let alone by Christmas. Some staff don't have the space to work comfortably at home. You know, they may be working from their dining room table, they may be working from the sofa, but it's important as an employer to ensure that those staff are working, do have the right environment to work in. Also, from a privacy point of view, it may be that if you're working in a household that's very busy, there isn't anywhere that you can actually have that privacy that may be very, very important to your job role. One of the big issues, of course, within PAVO particularly, is poor internet connection. This is an issue that many of us have come across. In the early days, even those of us that were in the office were having issues with connectivity problems. What we have found with a number of staff is it's surprising how many staff have actually contacted their internet provider and have actually found that they're not actually receiving the service that they're actually paying for. And by being able to speak to their provider, they have been able to increase that connectivity, and actually it has improved the way in which they work. And many people within PAVO actually live quite remotely. And there's a lack of access to services where staff live. Family issues. You know, are staff having to care for an adult or have childcare responsibilities? Juggling these responsibilities of work with other demands can be difficult. And of course, during the first lockdown, particularly, staff had no choice but to be able to do both. Boundaries between work and home life, again, is quite an interesting point. Some staff found it very difficult to establish the right balance between work and home. I think when you're working in your home, if you don't have a sufficient space that is definitely work and not home, some staff found it very difficult, that they felt as if they could never get away from work. And when you're dealing with individuals and service users, it's very difficult then, because you feel as if the house is full of everybody else's problems, and actually you've got nowhere else to go to get away from it. From an illness point of view, like every organisation, people have been physically and mentally ill during this period. But this is so much harder to deal with during COVID, with staff being worried to attend doctors for fear of picking up COVID-19, or knowing that the health authority have been so busy dealing with COVID that they don't have the time to see staff. It's important for staff not only to look after themselves, but for the organisation to ensure that they are doing so. From a job security point of view, we as PAVO have been very fortunate in many ways, in so much that immediately we went into lockdown, our work became greater. We were that much busier. There were things we had to put on hold because we needed to deal with other activities. But I've lost myself. Many staff are all perspective. We were very fortunate. However, we do have an awful lot of projects within PAVO that are fixed term projects. So staff worry about what happens when they come to the end of their fixed term. People naturally worry about what happens next year and the year after. It's just something we'll all worry about. During this time, we've actually appointed 2 new members with different roles that have come up. And of course, this posed its own challenges, as you can imagine. Having to interview online isn't the best thing to be done. We interviewed this morning and the connectivity was very, very poor, and we had to do part of it through a mobile. But we got over it and we got the interview done. But it does make life so much more difficult. It's also very difficult when you're doing inductions to actually be able to induct somebody into a role. When you're doing it all virtually, it's just not as easy as being in the same room with people, being able to answer their questions and giving them as much information as they need to have. It's also more difficult to blend new faces in with a team. Yes, we can have team meetings virtually, but not quite the same as having everybody in the same room, because you don't have that chit chat. We also had one member of staff, which I will mention, who's actually started with PAVO a couple of weeks before COVID. And to say she was chucked in the deep end is an understatement, but I am very thankful to say that she is a very good swimmer, and she did a marvellous job and continues to do so. Having good work programmes is essential. When we first went into lockdown back in March, many PAVO staff were redeployed to new roles, helping to cope with the increase in work relating to volunteers and dealing with the huge increase in calls to the duty line for connectors. Once this quietened down, staff returned to their substantive roles, but of course these had to be delivered quite differently, and it was important for line managers to be realistic on what they can deliver and how they deliver. It's also important that managers are very sensitive when dealing with performance management. Whilst remember that we still have project services and activities to run no matter what. These are some of the procedures we put in place to help us manage and support staff. Everyone is unique, so is the solution. There are so many different scenarios that are created when looking at different circumstances for staff. We within PAVO have policies and procedures which do enable us to take a personalised approach to this, ensuring personalisation and fairness, taking into account the areas I've already mentioned. We have a return to work procedure to ensure that staff have the support they need when returning to the office after an illness. An interview with a line manager on the first day back, This ensures the employee is fit to work and is not returning too soon. And I think that's something that's very important when staff are working from home, because you don't know quite the same how their health really is. Does there need to be adjustments made to their working hours, to their working environment to help them work more efficiently? Whether it's a short or long-term period of sick, it's important to ensure that this happens. During lockdown, working patterns particularly were quite different to previous hours, particularly for those with children at home, where it was possible to allow staff to work in the evenings maybe, or even at weekends if necessary, or to even spread their part-time hours across the week in order for them to be able to satisfy the caring responsibilities they had, along with their responsibilities for their role. Of course, once lockdown finished and children went back to work, staff were able to return to a more structured working pattern. But with self-isolation happening more and more, we are adapting hours as required. We also produced a document to allow staff to actually return to the office. Although obviously what the Welsh Government are currently saying is if you can work from home, work from home. We appreciated that in some people's circumstances, it was better for them to return to the office, whether it's full-time or part-time. You know, people may have, as I mentioned earlier, that they don't have the right situation to work in. It may be that they don't have a space, they don't have the right chair. You know, they're working from a dining room table, which will be at a different height to a desk. Some staff, you know, even found that it was so lonely working on their own when they didn't have any family living with them. And for all these different issues, we've put this policy in place, which has allowed staff to come back either for the full hours or even for part-time hours. We've also introduced a procedure for meeting face-to-face. Initially, we were doing this just between staff. This would allow supervision and appraisals to take place on a face-to-face basis rather than having to do it through a video link. And this again was very much around the issue of staff well-being, that for some staff it was so important to actually see a colleague in person rather than having to do it on a video link. We established risk assessments for staff to complete to ensure we follow the ever-changing COVID rules and guidelines around this. But we've also now opened that up, that some staff are starting to meet clients face-to-face as well, because again, there are some situations where actually talking to somebody over the phone or on a video link doesn't actually work for some individuals. But again, we do ensure that staff do follow the rules and regulations quite rigorously. Change of hours or working duties or responsibilities. Again, it's looking at if a member of staff is struggling with the role that we're in. We either look at changing some of the duties or responsibilities, maybe reducing hours. Maybe in some cases it may be that we've had to increase hours because of the nature of the work that they're doing. Within PAVO, we are very fortunate that we have expertise within the internal services to help us with these issues, but we also subscribe to an employment support service. We actually signed up for Mindful Employer, and we are very pleased that we are able to use their in-house service where staff have access to an advice helpline, counselling. And for managers, there's phone support for managing staff who are experiencing mental health issues particularly. There are some HR processes, of course, where a solution cannot easily be found. And we as an organisation do appoint a legal HR provider that we use for these more complex situations. Just to conclude this small section, with the increase of staff working from home, it inevitably means an increase in the frequency of contact with staff, as I mentioned earlier. And whereas previously you may have held meetings monthly, this is now probably more likely to be weekly, with no chats over coffee or catching up in the office. It's important to clarify priorities and break down objectives, focus on effectiveness, maximize productivity with technology, prioritize empathy, ultimately expecting ourselves or our people to continue to work the 9-to-5 day is becoming more and more difficult. Employees might be dealing with many other responsibilities, from homeschooling to unwell family members. which are distracting them from their usual workplace performance. But increasing communication, adapting working routines and listening to employees will ensure that virtual performance management can be just as successful as traditional performance management processes. Okay, Janet's now going to talk about where next.
Thank you very much for that, Angela. Where next? We know that we're probably heading for winter pressures in terms of what usually happens at this time of year, and we're already preparing for that. But as regards COVID, I don't think anybody really knows. Are we going to have more or less restrictions every time you switch the radio or TV on? There seems to be a different approach. We're working on the assumption that there's probably going to be some sort of opening up, closing down cycle as we go forward. And of course, just this week, there's been the announcements about vaccinations, and I dare say that a lot of third sector organisations will be busy preparing, hopefully, for that initiative. But in reality, we've actually got no idea. So our key issues really for all our staff and volunteers over the next few months, the way that we're going to approach it is, again, our awareness, horizon gazing. We're going to communicate very closely with our staff, keeping in touch with them on an individual and team basis. We're going to be looking for changes in behaviour, and we're just going to keep trying different ways to well-being. And I guess we are fortunate in Powys. Excuse me, I'm not coming down with symptoms, I promise you. It's just a bit dry in here. We're very fortunate in Powys. We do have a wide range of third sector services that are available to support individuals, and of course all our staff are individuals. So we've just got a short video now of just some of the providers, and hopefully David will be able to show that to you as I stop sharing my screen.
Hi, my name's Jo. I work for Mid and North Powys Mind, and we provide services for people who are interested in maintaining their well-being or improving their mental health. We cover the area of Mid and North Powys, and we have lots of services on offer. Here you can see the services that we're currently offering. They range from training courses, perinatal support, CBT, Facebook Lives, one-to-one support, youth support, counselling, and LGBTQ+ support services. There's a lot of information to take in, but the easiest way is to just give us a call. We don't have a referral process. We're really easy to contact. And what most people seem to like is that we will put you in touch with one of our one-to-one workers who can talk you through our services. You don't have to make that decision on your own. Our contact information is scrolling across the bottom of the screen, so please do get in touch. If you don't want to email or call us, you can get in touch via our Facebook page or on our website. Thank you.
Ponthavrin and the staff have adapted to offering all our services in different ways during the pandemic. We are offering counselling either via Zoom, on the telephone or face-to-face, with shorter 30-minute sessions for those who just need some extra support. The same is said for our one-to-one recovery project. People can either self-refer in via our website or on the telephone, or agencies can refer in. Our support staff are currently making wellbeing calls to our members and service users. The amount of time is dependent on the individual and their vulnerability and their needs. We are offering all our life skill courses via Zoom with Tracy Fletcher, one of our lead counsellors. We hold a waiting list and are advertising these via our website and our social media. The Silver Cloud blended online CBT programme in partnership with Powers Teaching Health Board, working with one of our practitioners, is also being delivered. Dependent on the current restrictions, our social distance walking group is meeting weekly in Newtown, led by one of the Ponthavrin staff, taking in the views of the River Severn. We are holding weekly tea and talk sessions with members of the Ponthavrin team. This is an informal chance for people to get together in the safety and comfort of their own home via Zoom. During the pandemic, we have moved premises in Welshpool to a much larger and exciting venue at the Armoury, which staff, trustees and volunteers have been renovating. We will be starting face-to-face counselling here in November and are excited to open our doors to the members of the public and the community to see our new venue.
The Stradgun Lice Mind does social prescribing, which means connecting people with social support in the community so that they can do what matters to them. The organisation provides counselling one-to-one by phone or by text. It has a weekly peer support Zoom where people get together to connect and to chat to each other. And there are also one-to-one listening calls. They're not counselling, but people get an opportunity to chat and to be heard. There are weekly mindfulness and yoga sessions via Zoom, and you can get in touch with the Strud Mind via Facebook or Twitter to get involved with that. The organisation also does Silver Cloud Active Monitoring, which is a mix of online CBT and somebody in the organisation to help you with that and guide you through. Mums Matter is a very popular online course for mums with children under 3. Get in touch via their Facebook page.
The Connector service can help the staff that you employ. The service works with individuals and professionals to access third sector support by either signposting or referring them into services. We work with the individuals to help them access the right local support, information and services, using early intervention and prevention measures to make a positive impact upon individuals' health and well-being. We work with individuals 18 years plus and listen to what matters to them and discuss identified outcomes. We look at the barriers that are preventing the client from meeting their outcomes. We work with the individuals to discuss options that may break down the identified barriers using resources within their communities. We connect individuals to local community support or third sector voluntary organisations to improve their health and well-being. Anybody can refer into the service. Self-referrals, referrals from professionals, from employers, families, friends, statutory services. We have a dedicated duty line, which is 01597 828 649, and you can make a referral from 9 AM to 4 PM Monday to Friday. Please call the Connector service for any help and support you require.
Info Engine, a third sector directory of services across Powys and across Wales. Looking for walking groups near Welshpool? Needing a toenail cutting service in Brecon? Are you a carer looking for support in a Stradgun lice? Are you wanting peer support after a difficult medical diagnosis? Info Engine is what you need.
Okay, thank you, David, very much for showing that short video. And this obviously just gives you a flavour of the different services and organisations that are out there. Sorry, I'm just having a little bit of a problem with my camera there. Yeah, as I say, that was just a short film just showing you some of the services available in Powys. But as the last clip showed, if you do have access to the info engine, this will give you so many more organisations and information about them that may be useful to you. So I would now like to hand over to John Paul to give us a session around relaxation.
Absolutely, yeah, sure, no problems.
Thank you.
And can you hear me okay?
Yeah, grand. Yeah,
That's
thank you.
Lovely, thank you. Well, hello everyone. My name is John Paul, and it's really lovely to be here. Myself and my colleague Cassandra volunteer and run courses for the wonderful people at Mid North Powys Mind, and we're very much aware of how testing and trying these times are, and it's been a great part of today. Since lockdown, we started a support service for staff and volunteers online or on the phone, and it's called wehelppeople.life. Cassandra is an acceptance and commitment therapist and a healthcare psychologist. I am a hypnotherapist with 18 years experience. I also practice neuro-linguistic programming, rational emotive behavioural therapy, cognitive behavioural therapy, meditation practitioner, and training to be a Wim Hof master. And what I use is a mix of most of those things to help people just relax and refresh a bit. So what we've been doing with our service is we aim to help key workers and staff and volunteers to help reduce stress and anxiety and teach simple and effective ways to help you cope better with work and with life, as well as I do one-to-one work as well. I specialise in complex post-traumatic stress disorder as well as childhood abuse. I work a lot in those lines. We aim to help support key workers, as I said, and what we do is we literally just go through, and our service is donation based. And if anybody's interested in doing some work with us, just get in touch, please. Happy to answer questions afterwards. So today I'm going to take you through a simple guiding breathing technique. So this is a shorter version of what I would do on a group thing or on a one-to-one normally. So I'm going to be uncharacteristically short and not talk too much now and make the most of the 15 minutes that I've got with you. It's important, really, really important, as you all know, to take time for yourself and to allow yourself to process feelings and let go of tension and negative thoughts and feelings. So I implore you to take a little bit. If you get nothing else from today from me, then just take that bit of information, that it really is important to take some time to step back and just allow yourself just to be comfortable. Okay, and just to do some deep breathing and take time just to step back from your day, because very much aware of how anxiety and stresses build up. Okay, and the more we push them down, the more damaging that is to us psychologically. So for those of you that want to do the breathing exercise, then just make yourself nice and comfortable. What I'd like you to do is just have your feet on the ground, unless you want to put your feet up, and those of you who've got the chance to lie down, if you want to do that, go for it. I'd ask you not to have your ankles crossed, and have your hands on your thighs or by the side of your thighs. Nothing magical in this one. It's purely for circulation reasons. That's all. So you don't want any tingling or anything like that going on. And what I'd like you to know is that anyone can do this. As long as you can close your eyes and breathe, then you can get something from this. All right. I've not had anybody not be able to do those two things yet. Fingers crossed for today. So whenever you're ready, what I'd like you to do is just allow your eyes just to come. And with your eyes comfortably closed, just bring your attention to your breathing. You can be aware of normal everyday sounds around you. Just help you to feel safe and secure in this time that you're taking just for you right now. What I'd like you to do is to bring your attention to your in-breath and your out-breath. Noticing the temperature of the air that you breathe in and the temperature of the air that you breathe out. Any thoughts that come to mind, you can just acknowledge them and bring yourself back to your breathing. So whatever those thoughts are, have no relevance in what you're doing now, which is just taking some time just for you. And I'd like you to know that no one has any wants or needs from you at this point. And really allow yourself just to be as comfortable as you can be for you, knowing there's nothing of importance for you to do. Just focusing on your breathing, comfortably in, comfortably out, in a way that's just right for you. What I'd like you to do is on every single in-breath that you take, just think of the word calm, relaxed. And every single in-breath that you take, just focusing on those words. Calm, relaxed. Every single in-breath that you take. And as this process goes on, you may become aware of some physical sensations, maybe flushing in the face, warmth around your heart area, tingling in your fingertips. If that happens, that's fine too. It's just a natural sign that your body is relaxing. Every single in-breath you take, feel that calmness and relaxation just begin to spread. Already by now, your breathing has begun to even out, become deeper. This again is a lovely natural sign that your body is indeed becoming more relaxed, more comfortable, in a way that's just right for you. And as your body relaxes more, that allows your mind to become calmer, more still. And as your mind becomes stiller, more calm, then this feeds back and allows your body to relax even more. With every single calm, relaxing in-breath that you take. And you may find there are moments where you're not aware of your body at all. If that happens and you don't become aware of your body, that's fine too. Just go with it. Whatever's right for you as you allow yourself this time, this moment right now, just for you. Be still, calm, quiet, and still. In this still moment right now. Because this moment is all that matters. And what I'd like you to do is to think of a colour that represents calmness and relaxation for you. And on every single in-breath that you take, as you sit there or lie there with your eyes comfortably closed, just see calming soothing, relaxing colour on every in-breath that you take. Every single in-breath you take. Just seeing that calming, relaxing colour. Really feeling it throughout the whole of your body. As that breath enters your lungs, your blood oxygenated, taking this colour around the whole of your body, pumped by your wonderful heart. Allowing you to relax more and more in a way that's just right for you. Now be quiet for a moment while you just allow this process to happen. Feeling as if you have like a warm, comforting blanket, relaxation and comfort just draped all around you. What I'd like you to do is, with your eyes comfortably closed, just do a mental scan of your body. If you find any unnecessary nervous tension or stress in any part of your body, you can just focus on it. And on every out-breath that you breathe, you can just breathe out that unnecessary nervous tension, stress, or anxiety. You can notice the colour that you breathe out, all the while breathing in that calming, relaxing, soothing thought and colour. Allowing yourself to feel lighter, more comfortable within yourself. And as you're doing that, I would just like to say thank you to you. All the hard work and effort that you've been putting in. Thank you for everything you've been doing to make a difference. Thank you for getting here today. Thank you for taking the time just for you. Thank you for all that you do, for all that you are doing. And after a while, you start to notice that on your out-breath, tiny flecks of that colour that you're breathing in start to appear. And that's a wonderful, natural sign that tension, stress, or anxiety is just beginning to lift. Just leave your body on every out-breath. You continue just to breathe in that soothing, calming, relaxing, still colour. And before too much longer, you'll start to notice the colour that you breathe out is exactly the same as the colour that you're breathing in. And this allows you to know this process, just letting go, that unnecessary tension and stress is just gone, just left your body. All because you took the time. Step back, close your eyes, focus on your breathing. Think those two words, calm, relaxed. Then bring your colour. Just by taking this time for you in this moment right now. And in a few moments, you'll start breathing yourself back into the room where you started in this relaxation session. And when we start to breathe back into the room, bring back with you all these feelings of calmness and stillness. You need a big stretch afterwards. Feel good about yourself. Feel good for you. Feeling comfortable and at ease. Recharged and strengthened in a way that's just right for you. So start breathing yourself back into the room now. Every breath bringing you back. Becoming aware of the temperature of the air against your skin. The feel of your weight against the chair, wherever you're sat. Becoming aware of the normal everyday sounds around you. And whenever you're ready, just open your eyes, have a stretch, and well done. Okay.
Thank you, John Paul. That was wonderful. It wasn't till right at the end that I suddenly thought, oh heck, I need to wrap things up now, so I need to come back a little bit sooner maybe than others. But I hope everybody got something out of that. And as John Paul said at the beginning, it is so important that we all take time for ourselves, even if it's just that quarter of an hour, 20 minutes. It's important to do it. But thank you very much for that session. There aren't any questions that have been posted into the question and answer part of the webinar. So in that case, it just leaves it for me to just say that thank you to everybody that has taken part today. Thank you to Mike and to John Paul, particularly for attending. Thank you also to David for doing the IT for us today, because without him, I'm not sure Janet and I would have quite managed to do everything he's been able to. Thanks also to Janet for putting together the presentation for today and the whole session.